Hello, Maxtortion here with a legacy video on this Saturday night, August 31st, after the big legacy banning where they banned Grief. This guy. Grief is no more in the legacy format, and so they knocked Rescaminator out of the metagame or something. But wait, what's this? What am I playing tonight in the Saturday Night Legacy Challenge? I am playing Rescaminator. Yeah, banning Grief does not actually knock this deck out of contention. You can see that I have 2 Thoughtseize in the main deck and 2 Tamiyo Inquisitive Student in the main deck. I'm up to 4 Trolls, 17 lands. And other than that, we've got ourselves a pretty standard Rescaminator deck. Yeah, it's actually not that hard to fill good cards into the deck when you have this like tempo hybrid combo plan. And while Grief was really good at bridging the gap, Thoughtseize and Tamiyo are also like decent at that. And so really like not a huge loss. It's a downgrade, but it's not a huge loss. I played this deck in the league and I 5-0'd pretty easily, so I hope that this challenge does really well. To briefly go over the cards, if you're for some reason not familiar with Rescaminator, we've got the Entomb Reanimate combo with, Animate Dead to supplement the Reanimate. We've got Troll of Khazad-dûm to put itself in the graveyard, and then we have our big creatures to Entomb for, Atraxa, Grand Unifier, and Archon of Cruelty. The rest of the deck is basically a Psychic, Frog, Tamiyo, Brazen Borrower / Reanimated Troll tempo deck, where you just kind of try to beat down your opponent, put them under pressure, and then if they can't answer the combo them, or vice versa, where you like go for the combo but also have a decent tempo plan. Sideboard has 3 Consigned to Memory and 3 Barrowgoyf as kind of a huge amount of respect for how good Eldrazi is right now. 2 Brazen Borrowers to supplement the one in the main deck to bounce Chalices, Merit Lages, all that sort of thing. Force Negation for fast combo and control. Fatal Push for creature matchups. Toxic Deluge for like massive amounts of creature matchups, like Cradle Control or Death and Taxes, stuff like that. Orcish Bowmasters for the blue decks and other places where Bowmaster is good. And it's a, pretty straightforward Rescaminator deck. I will see you all for round 1. Hello, so we're here for round 1 against Gala Triste. We will go first, and this hand has an Entomb and 2 Reanimates. Seems great. Let's keep it. Just playing an Entomb here and passing, an Underground Sea here and passing the turn. I want to kind of understand what my opponent's on before I just like Entomb a creature and have them, reanimate it or something. That'd be a problem. Okay, it looks like that won't be a problem because they led Pendlehaven Noble Hierarch. So let's go Entomb, and we'll put Archon of Cruelty into the graveyard, and then give that an old Reanimate. Reanimate Archon. Yep, there's the concession, and we are up in the match 1-0. Reanimator, reanimating. So now in the sideboard, against Pendlehaven Noble Hierarch, we're going to want Fatal Pushes. We're going to want Toxic Deluge. We're maybe going to want Bowmaster. I'm going to put them in that kind of a maybe slot here. I think that on the draw, Daze is going to get quite a bit worse. I could see Brazen Borrower being not all that good, depending upon what flavor of Pendlehaven Noble Hierarch they're on. I'm like looking at these as potential cuts, these as potential adds. Maybe right now I don't want to overcomplicate it. So I'm just going to run that, and if there is a game 3, I will adjust then. Okay, so on the draw for game 2, this hand has a removal spell, a super effect, a troll, brainstorm, and a bunch of lands. So this seems pretty solid. I don't know what else I'd be looking for in a hand, except for, maybe Force of Will. So here we are. Awesome. Thanks, Force of Will, for showing up. So we'll see. Okay, so they are playing a blue deck. So now that I know about the Hierarch, I'm assuming there may be a Nadu deck, like Nadu combo with like Noble Hierarch and stuff, or Noble Hierarch, Nomad's Encore, that sort of thing. So that's my guess now on what they are playing. They go to their draw step. And nothing on their turn 2. So I will do and Undercity Sewers now, just to kind of get some surveilling action on. Better sculpt my hand. And I don't want another troll. I've got a troll. And now what do I draw for turn? That's the question. Entomb. Pretty nice soon. I think right now what I'm going to do is just pass the turn. And like I could brainstorm plus Entomb on the end step. I can really just kind of set up what I need to set up right now. So that's a pretty good spot to be in. As we pass this turn through. On our end step, opponent has some sort of action to be taking. A hedge maze. They're going to surveil their own. Okay, they like the card they saw, so they want it on top. Maybe it's like a Nadu or something. We'll see what they're playing now. Or maybe we won't, because they're just passing. Nope, second main phase thing. Okay, no, they're passing. So end step, I'm going to brainstorm. I have way too many things I don't want. Now I did find the full Entomb Reanimate, although I don't have a blue card for my Force of Will. So that makes me a little bit hesitant about actually doing Entomb Reanimate shenanigans. Right now, I think that I'm potentially better off pitching these two things. Fetching for my second Undercity Sewers. Doing some surveilling. And trying to find another blue card. Or, you know, I can just... Actually, this is good. I can reanimate Troll and see what happens. And I'm gonna let it... I'm gonna walk it into a Spell Pierce because I also don't want my other stuff Spell Pierced. So yeah, I'll reanimate Troll. See if like they endurance me or something. Wouldn't be too surprised to see that. They're brainstorming, so we've got some plan or some desired plan. They've finished brainstorming. And they've got some sort of... Okay, yeah, so they're flustering this reanimate. So now I'm not going to pay for that, obviously. I can't. Now I will Entomb probably an Atraxa on this board state. If, you know, it resolves. We'll see what opponent has in store. Nope, they've dazed me. How embarrassing. I could have played around that, but I didn't really want to reveal my plans. Potentially a mistake. But let's attempt to reanimate this troll now since our Entomb got countered. And we've got a troll. Awesome. Passing the turn off to the opponent. They have another. Nope. So they're just green-blue, straight up. I have not seen any white out of them, I don't believe. Yep, green and blue. Oh, they're Infect. Interesting. Okay, that's why this whole thing has been so weird. And now I found... This is really good. I found a blue card for Force of Will. So yeah, I'm just going to try to pass the phase. And if they protect their Blooded Agent, I'll Fatal Push it. They didn't. Attack because I can't block a Blooded Agent even if I wanted to. And since they're tapped out entirely, I am just going to push this now and pass the turn. Not going to play Frog into Daze now that I know that they're Infect. Even though I did just reanimate Troll. But, you know, Force of Will is also good to have. Tamio. Noble Hierarch, okay. This is looking like a very toxic deluge that I'm about to commit. So I'll attack for 6 first because no reason to reduce my damage output. And this will be pretty straightforward. You know, boom, boom, boom. Toxic Deluge will pay 3 life, because that kills Tameo and Noble Hark and does not kill my troll, the 6/5. And they've had enough. They're not going to survive the next hit of troll. And we got a really quick 1-0 in the challenge. I'll see you all for round 2. Okay, we're back for round 2. We're against Andy Over, who's mulligan to 6. This hand has turn 1 Entomb, turn 2 Animate Dead, couple Wastelands. Island Brainstorm seems solid. Let's see how Andy Over thinks about his 6. Andy Over. Maxtortion over. Andy Over is thinking hard. Okay, Andy Over is starting off with what? Chrome Monk, so either some combo deck or Stompy deck. Mean Spirit Guy. Okay, so Moon Stompy. Oh no, Elvis Initiative Stompy. Okay. So this is Initiative. Obviously capable of ending the game really quickly. Good thing we have Entomb Animate Dead to hopefully regain control of the game, because a giant animated creature is very, very good at just running over, the initiative or whatever. So let's see what happens. This turn we take 7. That's a lot of damage. And then next turn we'll take 5 more, even after we animate dead this Archon of Cruelty, because opponent will still have initiative and be able to trigger trap on us. Undermountain Adventurer was the card exiled from Caves of Chaos, which we will have to counter, I believe, because otherwise they're just going to still run away with the game. I think, yeah. So yeah, they'll go to trap archives, and I won't be able to like survive all this. So yeah, I need to force this. Unfortunate. Now I Entomb, going to Entomb Archon of Cruelty. And I'm going to animate it back to life as soon as I get control over my turn. Andy Over, I would like control of my second turn, please. These games have been going pretty fast so far. Normally I have like these grindfest game 1s or round 1s in these challenges that take like 40 plus minutes, but today was over in like 5 minutes, something like that. And now this round 2 game 1 is also looking to be pretty quick. So I put Wasteland in play to animate dead here, because if I want to double Wasteland next turn for whatever reason, I'll want to have played 1 Wasteland on this turn. So Kaze is gone. I drew a Daze. That's pretty solid. So now opponent's going to trap me, putting me from 15 to 10. Ouch. And then hopefully they don't have extra land here and this Daze can hit. But no, they just conceded. So we're up 1-0 in round 2. And in against like red-green initiative, probably want Toxic Deluge, probably want Fatal Push, I want Brazen Borrower, probably want Force Negation for like the Chalices and stuff. I don't think I want Thoughtseize. I don't think I have time to be casting Thoughtseize on the draw, especially. I think Tameo is going to be a little bit too slow, a little bit too low impact, does not deal damage to take the initiative. Barragloif seems like a pretty solid card, but pretty. If I had Dark Ritual, I think I'd like it a lot more. Costing 3 mana is pretty slow here. And so I have 6 cards I want to bring in. 2 more I'll want to cut. I think I could probably cut like 1 Reanimate, just because I'm going to be under so much pressure from damage. I could also see like Fatal Push Reanimate being a very viable game plan. Maybe I cut a troll and a daze on the draw, yeah, and I'm bringing these in. Okay, let's try that. Okay, on the draw for game 2, this hand has a Brainstorm and a Troll. It has Troll Animate Dead as a combo. It has Brazen Borrower plus Basic Island to like bounce like a turn 1 Magus or something. Or to ignore Magus entirely because I have Basic Island and Troll to get a basic Swamp. So with all of those things combined, this hand is definitely worth keeping in my opinion. Like this is a Chalice, I don't really care. Trinosphere I care a little bit. It's actually of the more annoying things my opponent can do. But I did now find Entomb Animate Dead as a combo, so I could cycle for basic Swamp, but I can also just like fetch for it. Or use this Polluted Delta to get an Undercity Sewers and start filtering my draws that way. Since I can always cycle for the Swamp at any point down the road. Okay, so 4 mana and nothing to do. That's interesting. So I am going to get the Undercity Sewers here because I don't necessarily want my opponent to know that, or I don't necessarily want my opponent to know that I have access to Swamp Island. I want them to think that Blood Moon is a good play. I'm now back to this Daze. Do I want this Daze? If I Brazen Borrower to bounce the Trinosphere, then this Daze becomes live, but then I can't, you know, actually get counter the Trinosphere. So, because I have 4 mana already. Now I have another Entomb Reanimate cooked up. I like that. Basically, I've got a lot of ways to put things in the graveyard and pull them out. It's not unlikely that my opponent has something like Fairy Macabre, which they would be able to use to beat this Entomb Reanimate situation. So yeah, it looks like Caves of Chaos Adventurer is coming into play. So now I think I probably do another Undercity Sewers, because if I am able to like put an Archon or a Traxa into my graveyard just off of this like random surveil, then I can animate it back to life on the next turn. This is kind of risky getting rid of the swamp here. Or no, what I do? Because if my opponent plays like a Blood Moon effect, I will just lose. So I think I'll put it on top of my library, and then I'll just swamp cycle for it to get it out of here. I don't really want to draw it next turn. I think I'd much rather have like a better random draw step. Ironically, a troll. But anyway, now I will play this swamp here, and then at some point over the next turn cycle, I'll entomb, and then I'll try to animate dead an Archon, I'm assuming. But I could also see using this turn to bounce the Trinosphere on end step with the Brazen Borrower, and then going entomb, animate dead. Yeah, that's better. That way I can just kind of have this like unchecked use of mana on my next turn. So opponent's going to cast something here, Blood Moon. So I will float mana. And then I won't be able to entomb plus animate dead if I don't just do this now, because I won't have access to 2 black mana. But I could just, yeah, I think I want to entomb now. Yeah, I'm entombing, and I'm gonna entomb an Archon of Cruelty again, I believe. So Blood Moon hits play. I could spend, now I could spend 3 mana bouncing the Trinosphere. And I could reanimate Archon, but I think that puts me too low on life. So I think I would rather just pay 3, animate dead Archon of Cruelty. And so Archon hits play. They lose their Caves of Chaos Adventure. They lose a card from hand. I draw another reanimate. It's not bad. I've already made my land drop, obviously, and I would have to troll cycle for one to do that, or to get my next land drop, which I do intend to do. They discarded a redundant Blood Moon. And you can see now we're tied at 9 all in the life total race. And opponent's got 5 mountains in play, 2 basic mountains, 3 non-basic mountains. To my 2 mountains, 1 swamp, and 1 island. Snow-covered variety. Yeah, opponent's just kind of trying to prison me out, and they did not have any way to deal with my Archon of Cruelty, so they quickly took over the game, and we are now 2-0 in the challenge, and I'll see you all for round 3. Hello, we're back for round 3. We're against Chanel Santini. We're on the play. We'll look at this hand with 3 reanimates and no entomb. I think we can do better. Well, it does have Tamiyo Brainstorm. I think I'm going to ship it. Okay, and I'm happy I did. This is way better. With the Thoughtseize as a disruption spell, this is pretty nice. Also, there's a world where, like, our opponent has a creature that we can, like, discard and reanimate. I'm going to put away one of the reanimates from this hand when I keep, but opponent's still evaluating their 7. Okay, opponent kept their 7. We're keeping this 6. Putting away one of the reanimates. And we're starting it off. So, due to the want to Thoughtseize turn 1 and have days, I need to fetch Underground Sea here. I could go like Island Ponder and then try to get that thing going, or Underground Sea Ponder, but I think leading off on Thoughtseize with this reanimate is more what I want to do with this hand. Okay, so Underground Sea, Thoughtseize, opponent. And what do we see? Hopefully not a wasteland. Okay, opponent's casting Once Upon a Time in response. So they were concerned I would take that, and they're probably looking for a land then. Undermountain Adventure. Okay, so they are on they're on initiative. I think that so they can do a turn 1 Magus, but I can daze it. Ancient Tomb, Chrome Mox. So because of that, I'm going to get an Undermountain Adventure, and then I can reanimate it. So even if they go turn 1 Magus, I will daze that. And then I'll reanimate the Adventurer. Chrome Mox resolves. Broadside Bombardier is put underneath because opponent intends to Magus, and I say no. I say no Magus. And opponent does not have a Simian Spirit Guide or Elvish Spirit Guide, and so that worked. It was a risk of the play I made, but I think that high rolling this is much better. Especially because once I get this adventure into play, I can grab a mountain. Or sorry, not a mountain. A basic island with the initiative mechanic. So yeah, Underground Sea is the draw for turn, but more importantly, we put adventure into play, and I get a basic island here. And now back to my opponent. The opponent is playing Wooded Foothills, cracking it, going for their own Undermountain Adventurer. So now they have the initiative, which I currently cannot break through. A little bit unfortunate, but it was definitely... Maybe it was like right for me to wait a turn to reanimate so that I could be the second one with initiative, but that seems weird. There's a lot of things that could have gone wrong with that plan, including like any additional initiative creature. All of a sudden I waited an extra turn for nothing. Yeah, this feels like the way to go. Bit unfortunate that it got ripped from our hands, but we did know it was coming, so not much I can do about that. I do know my opponent's last card in hand is basic mountain. Or one card in hand. Now they have two mountains. So let's see what I find here. Another reanimate is potentially good. Let's brainstorm first. I kind of want to change the texture of my hand. Okay, Entomb Reanimate is great even. So I have a force which I'll like hold on to. And so I put these two cards away. Play this out. I have a force for whatever I need it for. Attack for good measure because if they block, they block. If they don't block, there's not much they can do to they're in bad shape essentially. Because I would take the initiative back. So they have to block here. But I guess they're really just trying to think about what could happen, what goes wrong if they block. And the answer is nothing. I just don't get the initiative if they block. Let's see. Okay, after much deliberation, they have blocked. Correct. The Undermountain Adventurers bounce off of each other. And opponent now has the Forge. So I'm going to leave my adventure in play. I'm going to take this hit from my opponent. And the reason why is so that once I like force whatever spell they cast here and then get an Archon of Cruelty into play, I can basically like immediately take the initiative back and survive. So here's hoping this whole thing works because I'm at 8 now. Oh, I can't. Shoot. Guess I have to get a Traxa then. So I need to force this. No, if I force this, I die. Well, I can't get a Traxa. Oh no. I can't gain life. I'll have to top deck. Oh no, that's what I'll do. I can force, so I'm no longer going to get Archon or Atraxa probably. But my plan here is instead to force the Caves of Chaos Adventure and then reanimate it to take the initiative. That's my plan. Okay. I will probably entomb Archon of Cruelty anyway because it does me nothing to... It gains me nothing to have it as a potential draw step. And then if I draw an Animate Dead, I could still like put it into play. So that's going to be my line here. I'm going to still like put Archon of Cruelty into the yard. Okay, so it is opponent's end step. We're going to entomb that Archon of Cruelty, which we're probably not going to reanimate. I mean, we would animate dead it, but not reanimate. Reanimate's going to go onto the Caves of Chaos Adventure. So Archon is selected and in the graveyard. Okay, so return again. What do we see? Find out. Find out what we get. feel like our opponent's very sleepy or double queuing or something because there's a long pause every time they have priority. I'm doing my best to cut the downtime out of the recording. Okay, Brazen Borrower is a great draw, actually. So I can... Let's see. Well, first things first, I can reanimate. I know what to do. It's even better. So I'm going to... Because this has Vigilance, I can attack and then use Brazen Borrower to bounce it. But wait, no, if I bounce it, they can replay it, and this doesn't necessarily work. I then lose because I've reanimated something. So scratch that plan. New plan is... Okay, so if I reanimate and they gain the initiative somehow, I just lose, I believe. Because I'll be at less than 5 life and they can just trap me to death. Does that change how I want to use this thing? I don't know. Let me think about it for a second. So if I bounce the Underground Adventurer attack, or attack bounce, then I have the initiative and they can recast this to take it. That means that if they don't like find any of their like many initiative cards, I don't just lose. Hmm. Yes, I think that what I do is I will reanimate this Caves of Chaos Adventure, go to 3. I will forge. I will forge here, I believe. The 5/6. Or I want the 7/5 trample. I think I want the 5/6. Or do I want to be able to break through? Possibly, yeah. Yeah, maybe let's see if I just go for the big one, and that's 12 damage total in the next turn. I don't think that works. I think I need to put it here. I'll rely on a Brazen Borrower bounce to clear the way and get in for lethal attack. Which I cannot do now because if they cast any initiative threat, I just lose. So here's hoping I don't just lose to the trap. If I bounce this, it has to be on end step. Okay, there's land for turn. The mountain we knew about. They're attacking. Not attacking. Okay, then I think we get this game. So we're going to petty theft the adventurer now. And since this cannot be cast as an instant, we will win on my next turn. Because we trap them down to 8 and then we attack for 10. So that's lethal. Okay, so sideboarding against red-green initiative. I want Brazen Borrowers, I want Fatal Pushes. A lot of initiative tonight. You've really seen the power of Reanimator. Like, I don't necessarily have to play a fair game against them. I can just cheat things into play for way less than my opponent spent to put them, or would have to pay for it otherwise. I think that we have the same plan as last time, more or less, like where these are the cards we don't really want to see. And Time to Memory does counter initiative trigger stuff. Maybe that's better than Barrogoyf. I think I want 1 Force of Negation for like Blood Moon Trinisphere stuff. Let's try it like that. Yeah, this seems quite reasonable. Okay, so on the draw, I like this hand quite a bit. It's not particularly vulnerable to a Chalice. In fact, I'd probably even let a Chalice resolve. It's got a Frog, which I will hopefully be able to use to kind of bully the game, take it over. It, in worst case, would be a pitch to Force of Will, but hopefully it doesn't come to that because Frog is amazing. Maybe you'll get to see what the fair part of this deck can actually do. Brazen Borrower again is a great draw because whatever my opponent casts, I can bounce it. Also very nice to be able to just randomly find an Atraxa and be able to put it into the graveyard. Because first of all, we saved ourselves from drawing Atraxa, and secondly, the graveyard's where I want it anyway. Now if I drew Atraxa and I had Frog, I could always, just discard Atraxa to Frog, which would be a non-issue. But as it stands, it looks like I just get to put Atraxa into my graveyard. Opponent's casting a Magus of the Moon, which I can answer. Even though it can't be countered, I can answer it with Brazen Borrower, so that's okay. Eventually, what I would like to answer it with would be Toxic Deluge, but for that I'll need a Swamp. So yeah, slightly annoying that the Magus is in play, but it just means that I bounce it with the basic island next turn. Okay, so opponent's passing through their turn. And what do we draw? Animate Dead. Well, now we have a plan, which is to counter whatever. Pitching Psychic Frog, surprisingly enough. Brazen Borrower to bounce the Magus of the Moon. And then Animate Dead Atraxa. See what opponent is attempting to cast. Minsk and Boo? I don't think so. Get out of here, Hamsterman. In Baldur's Gate 3, Minsk and Boo is voiced by Matthew Mercer. Now, since opponent already tapped out and attempted to attack, I have no need to take this 2 damage. They're not going to have 3 more mana in their 2 cards after already having made a land drop. So it's just kind of a free way to save 2 damage. I'm also going to make sure that I leave these wastelands available because if I, with this Atraxa, can find a way to counter this Magus, then getting what I was going to say is getting Atraxa, or sorry, wasting this cavern would be the way to go, but opponent just conceded to my Atraxa, and so I win the match 2-0. Awesome, we're 3-0, 6-0 in games. I'll see you all for round 4. Okay, we're back for round 4. We're against Casa. We won the die roll. Last week they top 4'd the Legacy Showcase Challenge with what? With blue-black tempo, I believe. And so I'm going to play as if they're probably blue-black tempo. I think with this hand, I'm going to do turn 1 basic island Tamiyo, because I can like start attacking and generating clues and stuff. And then turn 2, assuming it is that and Tamiyo survives, I can like attack with her. I can cycle Troll for basic swamp, and then I have basic, like 2 basics as my mana base, which will be very stable against the blue-black tempo deck. Long term, my goal is to get a Psychic Frog into play to discard Atraxa and animate dead the Atraxa. Tamiyo is now dead, so all of my Tamiyo related plans are no more. So I think that what I do here is I play the Pluto Delta and pass, and on end step, assuming they don't play a wasteland, I can Pluto Delta to fetch for Undercity Sewers and get some surveilling on, as well as Troll of Khazad-dûm. So first I would Troll cycle for basic swamp, and then I'll do Pluto Delta, otherwise I lose whatever I surveil if I wanted to keep it on top. So I'm getting basic swamp here. Then I fetch for Undercity Sewers to surveil. And do I want force? I don't think so. Okay, now I put Frog into play. And now that Frog is in play, I'll be able to, at the very least, discard Atraxa. Which is great, because then I can animate dead her. A Baleful Strix is in play. Slightly annoying as like a blocker for Atraxa, but not the biggest deal because I still have this whole blocker for Psychic Frog, not Atraxa. Atraxa's the goal, but not the biggest deal since I have 2 Fatal Pushes. I'm going to end step a Fatal Push here because if they have like a Daze or a Force, I kind of want them to use it on this Fatal Push so that I can get this Animate Dead Atraxa thing going. So died no problem. Little surprising. Okay, now I have both of them. So why not? Why shouldn't I just discard both my giant creatures? And I will attack first because if I draw on connection like a Daze or something, that would be really useful. Hey, just like that, you know? Just like we drew it up. Now I animate Dead Atraxa and I have a Daze to back myself up. Opponent agrees that I didn't even need the Daze, and we're up 1-0. So we also confirmed that they're blue-black tempo. So here's their list from last week. We got 4th place. Looks pretty standard from Spellbomb's main. But also, they might have cut those cards because Grief has been banned between now and then, so I won't put too much stock in that. I do think I want to deprioritize the reanimation package a little bit. But Forces are probably the most likely cut. And then, yeah, I can... Sorry about that. I was joking. I want this pile of cards, more or less. Potentially also the Brazen Borrowers. So these all seem good. Maybe the Borrowers aren't too expensive, but they are my best way of answering a Murktide, and I don't really have many ways to do that. I could cut just Force and Daze, and even trim like a single Entomb. It actually seems fine on the draw. Let's try that. Thoughtseizes I would cut if they were like a bolt deck, but because they don't have lightning bolts, I kind of want Thoughtseize. Since it's like we're gonna be both drawing a bunch of cards like our frogs and stuff. So if my Thoughtseize goes dead and my opponent's out of cards, that's like a good problem to have. Now I have Entomb Reanimate, which is obviously great. If they have any sort of, hard graveyard hate, then it's a bit of a problem. But at least I have a Brazen Borrower to like bounce a Grafdigger's Cage. Netherglyph is not something I particularly care about. Now, I'm not really trying to run this Entomb directly into a Daze. I don't think. So given that, do I want to do Basic Island Ponder right now? I think so, yeah, Basic Island Ponder. And then, like, throw this into like a potential Daze, I don't really care. Frog is good, Troll is probably good. Or sorry, Wasteland's probably good. So I'll keep those 2 cards. Troll I already have one of. And now I do have another thing to potentially reanimate. Like if I wanted to jam Frog on 2, I could. But again, if I'm not trying to jam things into Daze, I'm not trying to jam things into Daze. Especially with this Baleful Strix in play now, it's increasingly risky to prioritize getting a Frog in play for no reason. So I think that this turn what I do is I'm going to Entomb and cycle Troll. So like Entomb off basic Swamp probably. And then I will cycle troll after. Unless, of course, opponent plays something like a Nihil Spellbomb or what have you. Only attacking for 2 damage, which is not too bad. Opponent brainstorming. Maybe they have a daze, and this is their way of trying to get me to cast an Orcish Bowmaster right into the daze. There's a Tamio. Okay, so yeah, I'll go basic swamp. We'll entomb. And then I'll get an underground. So entomb, I think, Archon of Cruelty on this board. And then I will cycle this for an underground sea. And a Tamio of my own also. That's pretty nice. Let's start off with Reanimate Archon of Cruelty. Oh, it just worked. Okay, that's pretty cool. The other Goyf is down. Okay, so now what I can do is I can play a Tamio. And then I can honestly ponder to flip it since I've already drawn off of the Archon. And that's better than brainstorming in this spot. These cards all... The brainstorm and ponder seem fine, but I think I need like action instead of spinning my wheels. So even though this card's like objectively good, I'm going to shuffle. Fatal Push is in fact exactly what I was looking for, so that's great. I can +2 now. It also means that Baleful Strix can't exactly attack because it deals 0 damage upon attacking. It becomes a 0/1. Opponent is doing some surveilling now, trying to find their way out of this Archon situation. Archon of Cruelty really living up to his name in this tournament. We are crushing with these reanimated badasses. Opponent has 4th land now. Petty Theft, so unfortunately we do have Archon back to hand, but on my turn between Psychic Frog and Tamio Regrowth, I can actually get an Archon back into play if I wanted to. So opponent does get a clue token out of this and are going to maybe crack it now? Okay, they are. It's not their 3rd draw for the turn though, so it doesn't flip. Okay, so now I can go Psychic Frog. And if this resolves, which it does, I can discard Archon of Cruelty. I can -3 to buy back Reanimate. This is putting me to 2 life, but that is not 0. And also I go back up to 5 afterward. I played the Wasteland to play around days. So now opponent discards a card. I draw a card, they lose a creature. Thoughtseize will not really looking to cast that anymore. Let's get this Undercity Sewers out of here as well. And I can pass the turn back to my opponent. So now we are at 5, which is a lot healthier than the 2 life was. Although Orcish Bowmaster in play is not quite what I wanted to see out of my opponent, because now Tamio is dead. Now that said, I mean, I think my cards did a lot of work there already, so not too bad. If Frog is dead now, that's also sad. I can Fatal Push the Bowmaster and then bounce the Orc army, and then Archon kills the Baleful Strix upon attacking. Let's try that. So Fatal Push the army with black mana. Let's do that correctly. Fatal Push the army. Sorry, Fatal Push the Bowmaster. Bounce the army. And if this doesn't work, I don't attack, but it did work, so I do get to attack now. Opponent loses their Strix and a card. And I win the match 4-0, 8-0. We are killing it tonight. I will see you all for round 5. Okay, we're back for round 5 on the draw against Shake Lion, who has last been spotted playing the Nadu deck. But this hand has no colored source and no troll, so it's a mulligan, as good as it would otherwise be. This hand has no lands whatsoever, so it's also going to be a mulligan. Shake Lion's keeping on 6. Now we have Entomb, Animate Dead with a Daze backup. So we'll keep it on 5 and we'll get rid of the Ponders because we already have the perfect hand. Now it's kind of unfortunate that we're on the draw here, but you know, Nadu deck confirmed, I guess. This is definitely a mana dork. So yeah, I will Pluto Delta pass. No reason to be too face up with what I'm doing right now. Windswept Heath. Is this going to be a Nadu, or are we not doing it? So if it's a Nadu, do I go for Atraxa or do I go for the Archon? That's the question. I think it would have to be Atraxa. This does look like a Nadu. I could also just like Entomb and then Daze this, but I feel like letting the Nadu resolve and then waiting like via Atraxa has to be the better way to do this. So end step, I will Entomb. And we'll put Atraxa into play. And unfortunately, I cannot return Wasteland with Daze, so even though I drew a second Daze, I only have 1 Daze for protection. Now that said, opponent didn't respond at all, so that's good for me. However, I found no... I did not find any immediate protection in this hand. So I do want Entomb, I want Animate Dead. Tamiyo is my creature, and I have a land here. I can either take Reanimate or Thoughtseize. Now, given that I have so many Animate Dead type cards already, or Reanimate type cards already, I think I'd rather just take the Thoughtseize. And now I'm at 8 cards in hand. I am going to discard either one of the Dazes or one of the Animate Deads. I think it's one of the Animate Deads. Okay, so Sylvan Safekeeper is obviously annoying, but it does limit them to only like a couple activations because it's only a couple lands. Oh, well, there's more lands. 1, 2, 3. What is this? 4. What's happening to me? What's she doing, Shake Lion? Convoke? Oh, is this like Convoke X equals 1 for Nomad's Encore? The Court of Calling? Yep, I mean I can't daze it, so the Court has calling. The Court has called. Yeah, this is rough now. Opponent's gonna pop off a bit. I'm just going to auto yield these triggers because it's not worth trying to immediately pass or like hold priority on these every single time. I can reset it all if I want to. One's getting a lot of cards in play, a lot of material. Nantuko might mean they just run away with the game now, though. Yeah, I think they kill me here. They have an Emrakul the Eon's Torn in the deck, looking through their deck list off to the side. So unfortunately, yeah, just not finding the counter magic there was enough. Because every time target here, they're going to keep getting me. I'm gonna pause the video here. I don't think you need to see the rest of this. I'll come back once I've lost. So what opponent did is they just drew a bunch of cards and then eventually made a land drop of Gaia's Cradle and hardcast an Emrakul the Eon's Torn. And that's how they take the game. Okay, first game loss of the night. Against this, I want Fatal Push, I want Bowmaster, I want Toxic Deluge. Let's look at opponent's sideboard. They have 4 Fairy Macabre, Mindbreak Trap. So Macabre being in means that I definitely want to keep my Thought Seizes, since that's my answer to this. They're activated abilities, so Consigned to Memory doesn't stop them. Prison Barber is like okay against the whole deck, and not amazing though. I think I would much rather, so if I want these cards, I can cut like, I guess I'll keep the reanimation package, all of it, because if it's Macabres, I'm going to want to overwhelm it, opposed to sidestep it. I think Tamios are going to be a little bit too do nothing. Dazes, or I guess I'm on the play, so Dazes are going to be alright. I can cut a Troll, I think, and then I can cut like I'll trim and Animate Dead. I'll cut that Borrower since I'm bringing in these other removal spells. And I think since they're not fighting over my mana at all, maybe I can cut one more Troll. Let's try that. Okay, Shake Lion. Let's do it. Okay, so game 2 on the play. We've got Entomb, and if we draw an untapped black source, Thoughtseize followed by Reanimate. Otherwise, it's Thoughtseize into Reanimate. I'll keep it either way. Keep. I can also lead off with a Thoughtseize here, and then I can pace my game appropriately. Maybe that's the way to go. Yeah, I like that. So I'll open on a Thoughtseize. Okay, so no Macabre to Fear. Springheart and Antuco is probably their best card in hand. And I can kill like whatever they green sun for, so I'll do that. I should be aware that they have a Source to Plowshares that I don't want to walk into with whatever reanimated creature I play. So green suns for 0, so that's a Dryad Arbor. Which means that I can now I can Fatal Push the Dryad Arbor and waste them. It's kind of funny. Maybe I'll do that because then they also can't use the Source to Plowshares. So yeah, I'll kill the Arbor. I'll waste the Savannah, leaving them on Gaia's Cradle, Court of Calling, Source of Plowshares, and one unknown. The next turn, if I draw an untapped black source, I can Entomb Reanimate. So they still have one unknown. It does not tap for white. So now I'm going to, since I don't have an untapped black source, I'm going to space this out, Entomb Reanimate over 2 turns. So on my opponent's end step, I will Entomb, and then I will Reanimate on my turn. And with Days Backup. So let's put an Archon. No, let's put an Atraxa into play. Just because it's better for protection. Oh, we drew the Archon. Funny. Okay, so let's Surveil once. So Animate Dead. It's kind of a free pickup with Atraxa because we don't have any other enchantments, so easy to leave on top. Let's see if they drew a Fair Macabre in those couple of draw steps. Sure hope they didn't. Pause here makes me a little nervous. But it was a concession, so we're tied 1-1 now. Very cool. Okay, so on the draw, I don't really want these daisies as much. At least I'll trim at least one of them. Do you think I kind of want more reanimation? Although, honestly, like, Troll isn't great because I don't think Troll's going to break through them as well. Maybe I want a Force of Negation just to counter Green Sun's, Court of Calling, that sort of thing. Slows them down. I'll try that. Not in love with it, but I think it's just like a little swap to help out here. So we do already have Atraxa in hand and an Entomb. We don't have, which is a little bit rough, but we do have a lot of cantripping for the other side of this thing. Opponent's mulliganing. I don't have any removal in hand, and this is already effectively a 6. I'm going to mulligan. Well, I kind of do wish I kept the 7 now, but opponent's going to 5. I am going to as well, because this doesn't have any colored. If this was like an underground state, I'd be very happy with it. So we're both on 5. This one has Force blue card, reanimate. Yeah, so I'm going to keep like these 5. Or I could get rid of the Force and keep the Wasteland. Yeah, maybe I like that, because then I can use the Brainstorm. So I'll keep these 5 cards and get rid of Force and Undercity Sewers. And my strategy here is, since my opponent is also on 5 cards, I'm going to just like attempt to get in the way of their initial mana development. So like Fatal Push and Wasteland to just kind of hold them back on being able to cast their spells. Okay, so we keep the 5. Goodbye Undercity Sewers, goodbye Force of Will. And opponent goes Basic Forest into Noble Hierarch. So as we discussed, this Noble Hierarch is going to die. I'm going to do it off of a Flooded Strand here because I'm getting a non-basic land anyway. Goodbye, Noble Hierarch. It was nice to have met you. And now, hopefully, we find an Entomb soon. Llanowar Elves coming in, Gaia's Cradle coming in, so opponent has all the green in the world, but no blue. Archon of Cruelty, so this is cool. This is a fun trick that we're going to be able to do on my opponent's end step, I believe, or like in response to a spell. What we're going to do is we're going to fetch an Undercity Sewers and hold priority with the trigger on the stack. And then once that happens, we'll bin the Archon of Cruelty to the trigger, like put it back with Brainstorm and put it in the graveyard, and then we'll reanimate it. So unfortunately Nadu is coming, or I guess I could try it now. So I fetch. I'm going to get Undercity Sewers. And then with that trigger on the stack, I'm going to Brainstorm. Okay, so I do find a Daze, which I'll be able to daze the next spell, so that seems fine. So I put away, I want the Wasteland, so I'll put away Blue Delta, and I'll put Archon of Cruelty on top. And now the Surveil resolves. I put this in the graveyard. And unfortunately, the Nadu resolves. But the good news is I will have Archon of Cruelty coming in just a moment. Hopefully. So let's kick things off with a reanimate on Archon. Doesn't really matter which one they do because I'm just gonna, they're gonna kill the Llanowar, but then I can kill Nadu with this Fatal Push after I Wasteland. Because Wasteland counts as a permanent leaving the battlefield. So I will get rid of the Tropical Island because once I get rid of this Nadu, opponent won't have any creatures in play. So the cradle will not be any good. So they do get a card off of this Nadu. It's a cradle. It's funny. That's kind of like the worst hit for them. And I think they're conceding here. Yep, they've conceded. GG, we are 5-0. And we did unfortunately drop a game now, but yeah, 5-0 in a 6-round challenge, so we're locked for top 8. But we have a round 6 to battle hopefully soon. See you in a few. All right, time for round 6. We're 5-0. Basically playing this round for glory here. I think Sand is pretty versatile. It's got a brainstorm, fetch land, 2 wastelands, creature removal. I'll keep it. I think I'm going to lead on basic island, even though there's a world where I want a fatal push and wasteland in a single turn. I think that the basic island for brainstorm into troll is just a little bit more stable. So that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, so opponent is starting off with a Underground Sea Ponder, so they're probably on some sort of blue-black tempo deck. Maybe they're on Rescaminator just like me. We'll see. They could be on Doomsday as well. There's a lot of Underground Sea decks. And there's a lot of variants even within Underground Sea decks, like blue-black tempo decks all don't look the same. Doomsday decks could be dedicated combo, or could like be Doomsday Frog Tameo, DDFT. There's a lot of different ways to build these decks these days. Yeah, I'm going to end step a brainstorm, then I'll upkeep to shuffle cards away. Very nice. So I don't think I want the Atraxa or this Undercity Sewers. Although I do think I will get Undercity Sewers here. Just as a little bit more surveilling go. No, I guess I'll get Underground Sea because I can fetch for sewers if I need to do that. So yeah, I'll get the UC here. Drew a frog, which is pretty nice, but first things first, we're wasting this Underground Sea. We don't want my opponent to be able to do things with their mana. I'd like to prevent that. Another Underground Sea in play, persistent. Now if they lead off with some sort of like Nethergoyf, we'll have a good sense of what they're playing. If they jam out another Ponder, we're like that, we have less idea of what they're playing. But we do think that we might be kind of stranding them on lands, especially since they did a really quick shuffle there. My read is they are short on lands. I'm going to wasteland them again, I believe. Yeah. And drawing the Archon is obviously not great, but with this frog in hand, it is better than it would otherwise be. The opponent's drawing 8 cards. Do they have a land to play? They do. Okay. Thoughtseize me? Thoughtseize me, yep. Okay, so now they get a choice of what to take. They could take Archon of Cruelty. If they do that, then it's very likely that they are playing Rescaminator, and they have a reanimation spell. So that would be the kind of worst outcome for me. But we'll see what they take. The fact that they're not snapping off the Archon of Cruelty does make me think that they probably don't have a reanimation spell. But they might be trying to also think about the odds that I draw a reanimation spell here, or like a cantrip into one, because that's pretty reasonable to happen. If they take the Archon, I'm going to play the frog, because then if they try to reanimate the Archon, I can exile things to the frog. So yeah, they took the frog instead. So stranding the Archon of Cruelty in my hand. But now if I draw a reanimation spell, I can reanimate my frog, or the troll. Okay, so let's start off with the Ponder here, because honestly, if I find another wasteland, I'm firing it off. They might daze this. Yep, they did. Okay, so now they're back to no spells. Or sorry, no lands in play. Lots of spells, but think that was an okay thing to jam into a daze there because I'm just trying to keep them way back on the back foot. Okay, so they're playing the fair deck, the tempo deck, not the reanimator deck. That's good to know. Okay, sewers. What do we got? I do not want another land. But I got another land anyway, so I will get rid of that Nethergoyf. And I think just pass. I could entomb for Atraxa this turn. I don't think I want to do that yet. If they look at the top of my library, I will. Okay, now I will just like hide info. Because now they don't know what will be on top. Now they're desperately brainstorming though. Maybe it's a good card and I leave it. Because they could have waited till after the bauble draw to brainstorm. Since but we'll see. We'll see what this means. I'm gonna, I think, draw the card just because this immediate brainstorm makes me think that this card has action associated with it. I mean, they're looking for a counterspell. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll find out. Come on, good card. They're fetching before they draw with Bobble because they don't want the cards to put away. And they're going to surveil too, so they can have some selection over the card that they draw. So maybe I'll get some semblance of info out of whatever they do there. Okay, so card on top, draw. Yeah, brainstorm. Great draw from me. So I was right to keep it on top. Feel very clever there. Are they considering forcing this? Yeah, okay. That kind of makes sense, to be honest. I like that move since they know my hand kind of sucks. So now I'm just gonna hold this Underground Sea in hand in case I draw like another Brainstorm and can put it away and then entomb. Psychic Frog, okay, we don't love to see it. But again, I can entomb and like even animate dead through a daze. So I don't think I'm going to entomb yet. Gross, okay, this is not what I wanted to see. But I can potentially get the Undercity Sewers now and try to, you know, find a reanimation spell. So that's my goal. Let's see here. So anything else after the frog with your 5 cards in hand? Another frog? Another frog. Okay, so we'll do another Undercity Sewers. Put the swamp in the yard. And find something good. A Force of Will is not that good, but I will play out the 5th land just so I can hard cast it. Does something. Getting pretty close to the point where I lose this game. Just from frog advantage or disadvantage. Maybe a ways back jamming that ponder into the daze unnecessarily is the thing that cost me this game because I'm like, I'm one relevant spell away from winning. And that could have been the relevant spell. I'm going to fire this off because I don't know when else I'm going to be able to actually fire off a Force of Will for 5. And I was able to successfully counter it. 5/6, Nethergoyf in play. I really just need an Animate Dead stat. Reanimate also could do the trick. So Entomb, and we'll put Atraxa into the graveyard. And then we'll reanimate it and see if that is enough. Opponent counters here, I probably just lose. Okay, but I have maybe one more turn to draw an Animate Dead specifically because I'll no longer have the life total to reanimate. And if that happens, then I might be able to chain together some combination of things to win the game. I'll certainly try. Come at me, opponent. Yeah, so they're discarding to Frog to increase their clock. Because now I can't reanimate Atraxa. I'm at 7, not 8. They're very aware of the life total that would kill me. But they're also just throwing a Bowmaster into play for good measure. They could have also left me at 8, and then if I drew reanimate and reanimated Atraxa, they flash in the Bowmaster in response, and I just die as soon as the Atraxa resolves. So that could have been interesting as well. So I found a Ponder. Let's see if we can find Animate Dead. Or if opponent's just going to force a Ponder. No. We did find Animate Dead. And good cards. So yeah, no shuffle. I do go to 5 off of the Bowmaster, but I got an Animate Dead on Atraxa, so let's see if that's enough. Nope, opponent has another force. That will do it. Yep, cannot beat. I tried to fight through all these forces, but I could not. Okay, so against the blue-black tempo deck on the play, I really don't want my forces. Don't think I need Brazen Borrower. These are all pretty good. So 5 cards I kind of want. I could just do Fatal Push Bowmaster, leave Baragor's out because they get by Fatal Push, but then again, so does everything else. But costing 3 is kind of a lot. Maybe I bring in 2 of those. What would I cut? Thoughtseizes? It's Thoughtseize versus Baragorf. I think I'm going to try to be Team Thoughtseize here. Maybe I want a Toxic Deluge and 1 Baragorf. That way, if I'm swarmed by things, I can just press reset. So yeah, I think throwing that daze or that Ponder into the daze was the mistake in that past game. This hand has no blue sources and no trolls, so we're mulliganing. This hand has honestly it has Frog to discard the Archon. So I kind of like it for that, and I maybe put away the Wasteland. Let's try that. Yeah, because if opponent kills Frog, I can just reanimate the Frog. And then if opponent kills or lets Frog live, I can reanimate the Archon. So either way, reanimate gets mileage out of this hand. And I will Fatal Push anything my opponent plays on turn 1. Except for Wasteland. I cannot Fatal Push a Wasteland. I can get Wastelanded though. So now I draw and I play my next Underground Sea. Oh, I found Entomb. That's pretty nice. So now I can Entomb Archon of, or sorry, not Archon, Atraxa as well. So I have that going for me. The opponent does not have a second Wasteland. They do have a Ponder. I will Entomb in response to the Ponder. And I have Atraxa in the graveyard. I just wanted to not get dazed, because if I draw a land here, then I can reanimate around daze too. I will go for it regardless, I think. But worth noting. And the reason why I'm going to go for it regardless is I don't think it gets better for me by waiting. I get plays around days specifically, but they have like more wastelands, or like they can find a Force of Will or find Graveyard Hate, all sorts of things that they could find in a turn cycle that would make waiting to reanimate Atraxa worse. Thinking pretty hard on this Ponder, so we'll see if they have it. The fact that it's a think makes me think it isn't insane, but maybe they're just trying to evaluate, hey, are these cards good enough to win? And they decided that those cards are good enough, so they like them. let's try to draw land. We did not draw land, but we can now try to reanimate Atraxa. Will it work? Atraxa has been surgicaled. Well, I'm kind of glad that my opponent didn't surgical my underground seas there. That would have been really bad. But yeah, Atraxa is no more. Goodbye, Atraxa. Now, opponent also knows my hand entirely. Gets to see my deck, gets to see the post sideboard configuration. So this is good for them as far as info goes, but that's okay because at 5-0 in this tournament, not a big deal for me to lose this. I'm just making content here, so I'm trying my best to win. And giving you all like the best magic that I can, even if there's no pressure on it. Like, I still do want to play the best I can and show why this Rescaminator deck is still really good. Okay, so Bowmasters are in. That doesn't bother me, I don't think. A little bit of a strange play since they know about my fatal pushes, but it's okay. I draw a land here. Okay, I did not draw a land. I did draw a fatal push, so get out of here, Bowmaster. I will hopefully draw a land soon and can start unlocking this good stuff. Opponent's drawing lands. They've figured it out. Maybe they just have like a bunch of threats and so they're just like throwing threats at me until one sticks. Is this another Bowmaster? Because if so, doing another Bowmaster now would push damage. But fetch pass is a little bit strange to me. Oh no, just post-combat frog. Okay. And post-combat spellbomb. Okay. So all of a sudden, my reanimates are worse, but my fatal pushes are better because I found a land. So now, yeah, opponent forces this one. Little do they know, I have yet another fatal push. And I can use this with relative impunity since they forced the last one, which they would have dazed. If they had daze. Or no, they wouldn't have. I had a mana up. So maybe that was incorrect, but regardless. Another frog. Shit. Well, now I have to play a frog of my own. And hope that I can get frog superiority here. So I'm going to hold this wasteland in my hand, I think, as a way to pump frog. Because opponent is sitting on a virtual 3. Oh, this is a mistake. Opponent's sitting on a virtual 3 cards. Okay, so they drew a fatal push. I need to discard the Archon anyway, so I'm going to. Like, I want it in my graveyard, so even though it doesn't help me at all, it's better in my yard. It does play right into the spell bomb, but I need to push through the interaction anyway, so like, it may as well be in my graveyard, basically. Now opponent's probably going to run with the game. But I do have some good draws, so I'm not going to write myself out just yet. Alright. Opponent has connected. I'm going to fetch for an Undercity Sewers on my end step. Opponent has decided to wasteland me. I'm going to just fetch now. Dimir is pretty good, actually. Can buy back fatal pushes and stuff. I'm going to play the wasteland now because with the clue tokens, having more lands in hand is just net beneficial. See if Demio even resolves. I was thinking maybe she just gets forced. And that's that. Maybe opponent pops their spell bomb to just like Draw another card to see what to do about it. They're thinking. Yeah, Tamiyo has been forced. Okay, so no such thing as Tamiyo. That's what I've heard. Now opponent's going to really just probably close out the game on me. Pitch to force the force. So all 4 forces have been used in these top 19 cards. It's kind of funny. Though I did find 3 fatal pushes of my own, so I shouldn't be complaining. I'm just noting these things. Throwing away a Dark Betrayal is kind of a flex. It's like, look how ahead I am. I can toss my most versatile removal spell because you're completely dead, Max. So I find a Ponder. It's gonna do it. Bowmasters plus 2 blanks is not gonna do it. Bowmasters plus 2 random cards might, especially if my opponent like brainstorms or something. So I'm going to see if they just like brainstorm or whatever. On attackers, I'll flash in the Bowmaster. This is not likely to work. Like, I'll kill the army, and then I'll block the frog with my army if I can. I can't because they have already jumped it. And now my Bowmaster is dead. Tragic. And they're discarding a Thoughtseize because they're just pushing damage now, trying to get lethal as fast as possible. So I can't block, but if I draw a removal spell, I am still in this. Brainstorm now, unfortunately, not while my orc was in play. Things would have been way easier for me. Opponent has finished brainstorming, playing a Delta fetching. Is it like another frog? That's too many frogs. Murktide. Don't worry, Max, it's not a frog. It's just a Murktide Regent. Called it off the paying costs, being very clearly a Delve spell. And the days is just in time. I'm just going to say GG. And I have taken a loss, but that's okay because I'm still squarely in top 8 at 5-1. And my opponent is also now in top 8, and I know what they are on. So if they are going to be 5-1 top 8, I'll also have Shake Lion, who we saw is on Nadu, Ali, who is always on lands. MTG Nate might also be on Rescaminator, but lost to Ali, so I'm not sure there. Jesse just beat me. Punishing Waterfalls. He's got a pretty wide variety of stuff that he plays, but he is in the top 8, so that's exciting. Cool. We will see how the top 8 shakes out in just a minute, and I will see you all for the quarterfinals. Okay, so here's the top 8. We are third seeds. We're going to play against Punishing Waterfalls. But joining us in the top 8, we have Ali on lands, Shake Lion on Nadu, Jesse Samek on Blue Black Tempo. We just lost to him. We got Kanakan, who we've played a lot on this channel. Usually plays Painter, sometimes plays Bomberman. Punishing Waterfalls plays all types of different decks, although I do think he's on Mono Red tonight. Oscar66 previously played Scamnator, not sure what he's playing tonight. MTG4 also previously played Semifinals, not sure what playing tonight. So we'll see how the top 8 breaks down. But yeah, we're going to be against Punishing Waterfalls, and I'll see you all for the quarterfinals. All right, here we are for the quarters against Punishing Waterfalls. We'll be on the play. This hand has no colored sources, so quick mull. This hand does have colored sources, and it has Reanimate, Force of Will Days. I think this is a pretty easy keep. Now, as far as what the pitch is, I think it actually to keep. I think I'm going to get rid of Reanimate because the rest of the hand lines up really well, where I have like turn 1 Tamiyo, turn 2 Frog, and Protection. So that's going to be the plan, and I'm not going to try to reanimate. So keep, done, turn 1, basic island, Dimir. And then pass it over to Punishing Waterfalls. City of Traders. So Blood Moon confirmed. Fable of the Mirror Breaker, though. I'm not going to fight over that. I think that my frog can keep that at bay. I'd much rather like push like use Save My Force days for kind of a lights out spell. That's my plan here. I will be able to flip Tamiyo next turn as well, so that's pretty nice. Opponent's going to be, Matt is going to be a little bit pushed to try to lock me out hard here. But we'll see what he discards to the Fable. That's the issue, is he needs to attack me with his Goblin Shaman to make a treasure for red. Otherwise, the City of Traders is going to explode. So I do kind of have a squeeze on him. Seems pretty good. Feels pretty good. Okay. Caves of Chaos Adventure and Cursed Mirror have been discarded. So he probably does think I'm the tempo deck and not the Reanimator. Otherwise, Caves of Chaos would probably not be discarded. So I am going to block here and then discard my land. So I block. Then I will discard the Underground Sea in order to grow the frog to kill the shaman. So we'll see what the next play is. Fury, huh? No, I would rather you not. This has 2 damage marked on it already. But I think that I need to just straight up force. It does lose to another Fury. Like if he has a second Fury, then I'm in trouble, but I mean, what am I going to do? Three mana. Bombardiers. Okay, Bombardiers at least did not attack this turn, so crisis prevented. Fatal Push is a good one. So here, so I can attack with both of these. And if he doesn't, just like chump the Bombardier, then I can just kill it. So let's draw a card. So this is really good for me. So now I can cycle. So I get to flip Tamiyo now. And then I get to plus Tamiyo. And I get to kill Broadside Bombardiers. So that's pretty sweet. Okay, so now this coming turn, my floor is that I can rebuy Fatal Push with Tamiyo and kill Kikijiki by cracking the Clue token to trigger Revolt. So that's looking good for me. A Fury would be able to kill either the Frog or the Tamiyo, but not both. Although Punishing Waterfalls has had enough. Up a game, and also don't look like Reanimator. I did not play any Reanimator cards. So that's really good for me. Now, on the draw, I don't think I want Thoughtseize because basically he's coming in quick. Tamiyos are pretty bad, especially like Chalice, Fury on the draw. Like, I just don't have time for it, mostly. Dazes are kind of because of the Spirit Guides. So I don't love these cards. I do love Barrogoyf. I love Toxic Deluge. I love Fatal Push. I love Force Negation. And I love Brazen Borrower. So I want these in. cut one more of those, and then I have 2 more cards to cut. I think I'm going to cut 2 Ponders. I brought in, I think I still have a critical mass of blue spells. Let's double check that for Force of Will. So I'm at 19, which is a little light, but I think is okay. I like the rest of my deck. So let's keep it. Let's run it like that. Or, I'll cut 1 Wasteland for a Ponder. There we go. So this is how I'm going to run it back on the draw. Sorting by mana value looks like this. So on the draw now for game 2. I've got a bunch of forces. Reanimate. Seems great. Let's keep. Opponent's mulliganing to 6. And the waterfall ends at 6. Shire Skull coming in tapped. Okay. Maybe that means I want to wasteland it. Ooh, now I have Entomb Reanimate. So, given that he does not know about my Reanimator plan from game 1, I think that this is going to go completely unimpeded. And so that's going to be my plan. So I'll counter a Chalice. That's basically it. Oh, Hearse, huh? Well, making me look like a fool here, but yeah, I'm going to have to fight over that Hearse because my plan is reanimation. And since I have I think I'm going to get Basic Swamp just so that I'm somewhat immune to Blood Moon. So yeah, I'll get Archon of Cruelty now. So I can't get blasted. And then I will reanimate the Archon. I'll let him make his discard decision before I wasteland. Just minimizing information. And found another Entomb. I will nuke the Ancient Tomb, I think. Because that's the thing that adds 2 mana as opposed to the thing that adds 1. Just kind of trying to slow him down as I run away with the game here. So as long as this Archon does not get hit by a Gon, I win. And it looks like we got there. So yeah, easy 2-0 on to the semis. Oh, and I just want to say my heart goes out to you, Dark Depths, Aniki, Litis, and Yoshiwata for going 4-2 in the event and missing top 16. That really sucks. Also, my heart goes out to Kurinari Dakpa, who got 9th on Breakers, and it was not the match win percentage, but actually game win percentage that separated MTG Nate and Kurinari Dakpa from 8th versus 9th. So that's rough. MTG Nate, as you can see, is having a very lucky night and has already defeated Ali. 1-0 in games and Ali's good match. Maybe Ali's tired or something. See, this event started. Ali's in Sweden. This event started at 8 p.m. Pacific. It's like something like 6 a.m. for Ali. So maybe he's just trying to get on with his day. It's like noon or something there. So 11 a.m. So anyway, yeah, it's 1 a.m. where I'm at in the American West Coast. But yeah, it's looks like we'll be playing. So we're in the 3-6. So the bracket goes 1-8, 3-6 in one side. So I'm going to be playing against MTG Nate in the next round. I'll see you all for a minute. Or in a minute. For a minute doesn't make sense. See you all for hopefully longer than a minute if I am playing, because a 1 minute match is not likely to end in my favor. Anyway. Okay, so coming up on the semis, we're against MTG Nate 4, and we're going to be playing against the winner of Kennecan and Shake Lion. Okay, I was wrong, we're against Shake Lion again. So this hand doesn't have Entomb Reanimate in it. It does have Entomb. There's a lot of reanimation effects in the deck, and it has a borrower to slow things down, so I think I'm going to keep it. A little bit hesitant about it, especially on the draw. But we shall see. Tropical. So I feel like Nadu's coming down for sure next turn unless I kill this tropical island. Although, now there's Entomb Reanimate. I feel like if he had the blue naturally, he wouldn't have gone for this on here. Although if he does do Nadu, it's not, or sorry, if he does do, yeah, Nadu on this next turn, it's not so bad for me. Like he can't activate it and I can get an Archon in play. Or a Traxa. So yeah, I'm not going to wasteland. I'm just going to try to go for the punishment. So Shepherd, I can't counter that. It says so right there on the card. Hierarch. Okay, so this is much more of a elf heavy draw. Now, definitely an Archon draw because the Sword Shepherd means I can't do much as far as countering spells that come down. So yeah, Entomb. As soon as my motive stops lagging, I get an Archon of Cruelty. And then I'm going to reanimate it into play. Daze is quite nice as well. So yeah, reanimate, Archon of Cruelty. I guess Daze isn't that good as Shepherd, but outside of that, it's solid. You drew another Wasteland too, so I think I'm going to waste the blue now to make Nadu a problem. Turn a forest, untap a creature. So if I Wasteland, Korean will get used. So I think I'm going to do that in the upkeep to set back my opponent, because then they'll only be able to do this once per turn, which means they won't be able to use it on their main phase. Trying to be annoying here. So yeah, this does make Quirion less effective, but also is not a very effective use of Wasteland either, to be completely honest. So you can see that the trop was saved there, but now Quirion Ranger has already been utilized for the turn. And Shake Lion has decided that I win the game. Very cool. So against Shake Lion's sideboard once more. So that is very macabre, stuff like that to be aware of. So, and Swords to Plowshares. So I'll want to keep my Thoughtseizes. Again, I think that Daze and Borrower are going to be a bit slow. Tamiyo is going to be a little bit anemic. And then the cards I want are like these 6. I think I also want Force of Negation I established last time. And maybe I cut a troll to make that all work. Yeah, I'll board like this on the draw for game 2. So I like this hand quite a bit. It's got Force Blue card as well as Frog. It's got Fatal Push and Reanimate as well, which means that I can reanimate my stuff, but I can also reanimate my opponent's stuff. Now, yeah, this Lenoir Elf, I believe, is probably going down here. Or, you know, do I let Lenoir Elves live for a turn? Because I think I'm way more concerned about, like, the way that this hand is shaping up. I'm much more concerned about, like, killing stuff like Allosaurus Shepherd and those sorts of cards so that my counterspells work. So I'm just going to go Flooded Strand Pass because even if Shakeline plays a Nadu here, I can just like Fatal Push it. And then I can get my own Nadu, technically. So Nadu is in. Debating Fatal Pushing it, giving a card that way. Yeah, I think that's fine. I'm just going to, on the end step, Underground Sea Fatal Push. And it does give Shakeline a card to do it this way. But I know the card, and it's just Aquarian Ranger. Okay. And another Fatal Push. That's pretty convenient, although I think I'm going to start with Frog now. Because I want to be able to get the beatdowns going. So yeah, opponent or Shakeline will be able to play a lot of spells this turn. Arbor in, okay, so endless blockers. Nomad's Encore, huh? That's not a problem. I think I can just Fatal Push that. Let me think about that. Yeah, that's fine. Then I can leap the frog to connect. Elvish Herder does not matter for me. Okay, so I will push this Nomads so that I have 3 cards in graveyard to give flying. A Fatal Push. Okay, I'm actually going to do this Undercity Sewers first also because maybe it's I get to have some card selection on what I draw. So that's pretty nice. Thoughtseize. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy to draw Thoughtseize here. I can go exile 3 cards, 1, 2, 3. Then I can attack. Draw Thoughtseize and use Thoughtseize. Which means that I have just another level of insulation against bullshit. So what do we see here? What do we have here, opponent? Is this a Veil of Summer? That'd be annoying, but I will force a Veil of Summer, I guess. No, it's a Court of Calling. X equals 1. 2 cards in hand. I think I'm gonna force that, and then I can take whatever's left in hand with the Thoughtseize. Seems like a pretty sweet way to do it. Okay, Fairy Macabre is just getting used. Cool, so we didn't waste this reanimate. And Savannah in hand, okay. So now, obviously, the damage does not line up in our favor here. Taking 5 little 1-drops of pain. But I can reanimate Nomad's Encore as a good blocker because I can send the damage over to my frog if need be. Or that. That's easier, right? Just discard. Oops. Cancel. Let's reanimate Archon of Cruelty. Going down to a measly 5 life, but now back up to 8. And then I think I will attack with the frog. It's going to force my opponent to use Korean Ranger. I'm not going to discard a force to like make the frog fly. I think it's better to just keep force. And this kind of makes the Dryad Arbor not work for the turn. So that's fine. I'm not very concerned about the way that this lined up. I have a non-functional Dryad Arbor in hand. GG, on to the finals. Very cool. Okay, we'll face the winner of Canacan and MTG Nate. Looks like MTG Nate, from making the 8th place with the same breakers as Kurinari Jackpa, is having a lucky day indeed. Just defeated Canacan 2-0. And I get to face them in the finals. Let's see if I can cause their luck to run out. See you all in a minute. Okay, so we're against MTG Nate 4. We're on the play. This hand seems pretty great. It's got turn 1 Tameo, and then got Daze action too. Strangely enough, so I'm going to keep this hand. I'm going to lead Underground Sea intentionally because the way that this hand is shaping up, I'd actually rather get Wastelanded on turn 1 and then just like do basic Island Brainstorm after attacking with Tameo on my turn 2 and then have Daze with basic Island and then Island Swamp as super stable mana. MTG Nate is mulliganing, so that's good for me as well. Okay, Tameo, take us home. The Delta, basic Island. Tameo. Resolves, great. Now, what does... Oops, I meant to go Underground City there. Like I was just talking about that whole plan. This is not a Reanimator at all, by the way. This is a Savannahnator. But this is probably Nadu. I think the way that my hand is shaping up, I want to let this resolve and I'll try to counter the Nadu. Okay, let's attack with Tameo first. Ooh, Fatal Push. Not bad. So let's, attack now. Got that clue token. Definitely don't want to miss out on a free clue. And then I will Brainstorm to flip Tameo. More Fatal Pushes and a Daze. So I'm going to put a Daze under the Undercity Sewers. Neither of which that I necessarily want. Tameo flips. Now, due to the fact that I have these 2 Dazes, I am going to push the Llanowar Elves because that means that these Dazes go live earlier. Like, my opponent's more likely to tap out. Also looks like, they're on Nadu as well. Ban to Nadu. Nomad's Encore. I'm gonna just Daze this one for posterity. Gonna try to keep the board empty. And let's see if they have any follow-up. Okay, Gaius Cradle. So dazing there was pretty good, actually. Okay, so what do we draw? Oh, wait, I knew about that. Undercity Sewers. So I am going to... I'm going to +2. I'm going to try to threaten an ultimate this game. And so I'm going to Swamp Cycle for an Undercity Sewers and get some additional surveil action going now. Just a pile of sewers. Entomb is not a card I really want right now. I just want more answers. I can always -3 Tamiyo to rebuy a Fatal Push also if I need to. Yeah, Allosaur Shepherd, I can't counter that one. And I can't counter the next one either. I am just going to remove the Shepherd though. Let's get rid of it right now. And that's enough winning off the ultimate here. So we're up 1-0 against Bant Nadu. I think I'm going to have a pretty similar sideboard plan to my last round. If I can remember all of it. I wanted Thoughtseizes. I decided Tamiyo was a little bit anemic. So I have those, and then I can put these 6 in. Then I, as an afterthought, as to keep with the pattern, add a Force of Negation and cut a Troll. That was the exact same process I did last time, I think, including the forgetting the Force of Negation. Although I haven't seen like as much of my opponent's deck, although I've seen enough of the same cards, I think it's the same list that Shakeline's playing. This hand is interesting. It's got Entomb Animate Dead, but it's often Undercity Sewers. I think it's still a keep. I guess I'll find out. But the idea here is that if I draw an untapped land, obviously the hand is insane. And even if I've tapped land, I can start surveilling to get a second land, and then like turn 2 I can Fatal Push plus Entomb, and then turn 3 I can get my creature back into play. So Dryad Arbor off of Savannah. So yeah, I want a second land. Do not want an Entomb, I want a second land. So I just bin the Entomb. And we'll see if this is enough. Obviously, 1 Force of Will and 6 black cards is not really a combo. Korean Ranger, which is a great protector of Dryad Arbors far and wide. Nomad's Encore is the thing that I have to kill stat. Although Korean Ranger also does do a little bit of Nadu triggering. Yeah, I am going to kill. Okay, Anna drew that land, so let's Fatal Push Nomad's Encore. Do that in the upkeep, I believe. I just, in case there's any Korean Ranger shenanigans or like a Veil Summer or anything, I think that Fatal Pushing in the upkeep here is the way to go. What's happening? I'm getting, oh no, I'm getting Nadu'd in response. No, I'm getting new Nomad's Encore in response. Yeah, and then opponent can still Nadu. Yep. They can still Nadu for turn, I believe, by using Korean Ranger. So maybe it was a mistake to wait for upkeep. Yeah. By maybe, I mean it definitely was. But it does not appear they have Nadu. That's convenient. I think I'm going to Entomb or Archon of Cruelty. Or do I want to get... They don't have any uncounterable anything right now, so maybe Atraxa is the way to go. I'll get Atraxa. Guarantees me a hit for this force. Like, I'll find a blue card in the top 10. Hey, there's a blue card. Animate Dead on Atraxa. Now I get 1 blue card. Wow, that's it. Animate Dead, Fatal Push, and Underground Sea. Okay. Play land for turn, and I will Fatal Push its Nomads right now because I learned my lesson from last time. And I think that should hopefully lock away the game. Or be real close to it. The fact that I only found 1 blue card in this top 10 is pretty funny, though. It's just not a blue card heavy game. There's Nadu. Absolutely not. Not accepting a Nadu coming here now. Even with the 1 target, it's just not worth it. Don't have a backup Nadu? No. Okay, now we drew another blue card. That's great. I am going to Bowmaster the Quirion Ranger, since that's the most annoying creature. Because it protects everything else. And pass the turn. It'll counter combo pieces, and I'll let most other things resolve. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't care what you are, I'm countering it. Unless you're uncounterable. X equals 3? No. That's a Nadu. We don't do Nadus here. We're not a Nadu place. Hey, we won. Hell yeah. Nice. I think that's my first time recording a challenge win, so very proud of myself here. We did it. Okay, so let's review the deck. Oops, I forgot to screenshot that. Anyway. Yeah, so here we are. Let's update the name. The name is wrong. It's not Rescaminator, it's Froginator. Froginator. Yeah, so we just won the challenge with Blue-Black Froginator. No more grief. So no more Rescam. It is frog time. It's a frog eat frog world out there in Legacy. Also vintage and I guess modern to an extent, although it's more of an energy format. But yeah, this deck was really good. I'm sure you saw how Tamiyo and Fatal Push and just the deck, like, you miss grief a little bit, but the deck still works and it's very strong. You didn't really get to see Barrowglyph in action much. It's a very expensive card on Moto too. I happened to get in early on them, but you know, it's one of those things where like all the parts of the deck make a whole, and I really like the way this thing is configured. Obviously, a little bit biased since I just won the challenge, which is sweet. Yeah, so got the W, and I hope to see you all next week. Every Monday, of course. Bye-bye.